W thumbnail image. So Pisco and Hutch get into it again. This is all coming from the back of the Vanguard stuff. Here's my thing. Can I recommend YouTube best Christian YouTube channels? You can recommend them all you want. Doesn't mean I'm going to check it out unless there's something interesting they talk about. Then I might analyze what they're talking about potentially. So Pisco and Hutch obviously had their issues or had like a big drama thing back when the Vanguard was on. I do watch Live and Learn. Matter of fact, the reason why I wanted to react to this is I was at the gym. Usually I put on Live and Learn when I am at the gym, and I work out while I listen to podcasts. That's my preferred way of working out. And something about this conversation started triggering me. So I started wanting to I wanted to talk about it on stream for a YouTube video, because this kind of comes from the first drama where people think that Pisco was being too nice to the Vanguard, and I agree, and I still agree. And now we're having this one situation where they're doing Live and Learn. Before they did Live and Learn, Hutch reacted to, and I was watching Hutch's stream while this was happening. He was reacting to Pisco having a conversation with the Vanguard. And my perception of that conversation with the Vanguard is, I get it, you're trying to understand and get them on your side, but they're saying crazy things, and you're not really pushing back. You're not giving them a hard time. You might say, like, I disagree, but you're not. If you say one word of disagreement and then all of it is just helping bash the Democrats, it seems like you're complicit. It's not about what you say. It's the intentionality behind the words and the context of the conversation. So I didn't feel like Pisco really did well in that. And then Hutch and Pisco, round 2, they got into it. And yeah, we're about to react to it. Save those 2 names. Please watch their healing videos first. I'm good. I'll pass. I'm not. If they have some debates or whatever, fine. I'm not interested in their healing videos at all. I've grown up Christian. There's nothing they can say to me that'll affect me. All right, let's listen.
He had her on his program and endorsed Jill Stein. So if you're going to accuse me of
going after lefties who are attacking Trump,
you had 30,000 people. That's a city of 425,000 people, and 50,000 people were marching. And if the reports about Bovino are true, that potentially resulted in a Republican is representing you in the House or the Senate. Fucking call them. Leave a voicemail. You can.
We're not going to support this. He changed his mind in the Discord. And I'm just like, are you guys just motherfucking position? Which is what like Schumer is this master chess player.
Administration.
Who cares if Bovino is in?
Donnie almost made sense because like Trump didn't have the precedent to like hate him before, but Waltz, I can't believe he's.
And everyone should smell blood in the water and take advantage of it.
Ryan Getty, where's Ryan Getty? He's in somebody's chat.
He's in my chat. Why?
I watched your recent video on Getty.
I
just left as soon as you said something. Did you see that? It happened again.
What the fuck? Going after lefties who are attacking Trump. This is the criticism from the drama, Hutch. This is the elephant in the room.
Be more.
All right, here we go.
Specific. There's about
there's drama.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here as I understand them, the accusations from both sides. Accusation against Hutch, we'll start with that one, is Hutch spends too much time shitting on lefties who are going after Trump. That's the accusation. And then the accusation from Hutch is you guys don't actually care about any of
Trump. Wait. No, hang on. Rephrase that. That's not true.
That's the accusation. No, you can deny it. I'm just saying that's the accusation.
No. How did you phrase that?
Unfortunately, there will never be enough political capital to deport the millionaires and deport Trump. We just got to expose them, showcase that they are not doing things in the best interest of the people. That's the only thing we can really do, regardless of how bad Trump is.
Did you say lefties that are going after
Hutch
Trump?
Spends too much time going after lefties who are attacking Trump.
What?
That's you never heard this?
Trump? Who are
you never heard people say this, Stevie?
I've heard the Hutch is going after left.
So in this initial part of the conversation, so I did watch this. I did watch a lot of this. I just want to give my personal opinion about it. The initial parts of this conversation is all semantics. Pisco is throwing out an accusation that is considered being made about Hutch. The characterization I do think is wrong, but
Excuse
this
me,
is
but these
unimportant to the overall conversation. So let's move forward.
You
at
can
all,
disagree. You can disagree with whether the accusation is true.
Okay,
But do you
I think
that-
I understand what you're saying. You're saying that you're talking, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Are you denying that you're accused of that?
I understand the way that you phrase it in that way. I would take issue with the premise because if this was just a lefty going after Trump, what fucking issue do I have with that? The only time I go after lefties is when I feel like they're helping Republicans and Trump.
Yeah, you can like fight the accusation, but the accusation is being made. That's all I'm saying, right?
That's
Or do you deny that people are?
I just find it disingenuous framing. That's all. Like you're attacking lefties that are
you
going
can.
after
I'm just.
Trump. I'm not attacking.
Do you
lefties
think that people
are-
are accusing you of that?
Talking
I'm not saying that it's true. I'm just saying, do you think people accuse you of that?
Some
I
wild-
mean, it's.
I think
bullshit,
Pisco,
for
in
sure.
general, the
Yeah.
accusations are generally Hutch punches left more than he punches right. That is in general. It has little
Right,
to do with
but the
what
obvious implication of that is it's counterproductive towards the threat of like Trump and fascism.
Sure.
Like that's their
Not-
point. What do you
not
say?
if-
Sure, like that. That's the fucking accusation. You can just say it's not true.
No, but not if it's not counterproductive if you hold the view that I do, which is that these lefties are helping MAGA.
I know you disagree with the accusation.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
just laying out that is the accusation,
Okay, wait.
right?
Okay.
Or do we?
regardless,
Is that
All
a
right.
problem?
Okay.
While Hutch is on the hot seat, we got a super chatter says, do you see trolley problems all the way down, and do you know about the horizon effect or the disadvantages of greedy algorithms?
Nope.
I guess he
Fuck's
doesn't.
this
You're gonna
guy
have to.
talking
deal-
about?
What is he
well,
saying?
I know what a greedy algorithm is in terms of software engineering. It's like a way to. It's hard to explain. It doesn't matter. The point is, maybe this has something to do with like often Hutch, you will put everything into a dichotomy. It's like we either do this or this, and one is utilitarianly better. And maybe there's some disadvantage to doing this all the way down. But maybe he can elucidate in a different chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's the
I think
accusation
Hutch is
against
worried-
you.
Also, you said I'm honestly over the files, bro. Like, why is it correct they withheld the files? No, but it's being drug out, and it's not really that important at this point. It depends on what point of view you're coming at it from. It's very clear that the Republicans, MAGA, and some very bot-ass center-right people were using the Epstein files as a means to get Trump elected, to go after the big old conspiracy that Epstein controls different rich people, different millionaires, and different politicians because he has dirt on them for messing with young girls on his island. So that was a huge old conspiracy. And the idea is that Trump was going to be elected into office and release those files, exposing all those people. And then there was assumption that Trump was also not on the files. Now, if you understood Trump's relationship with Epstein, we all knew that was ridiculous. He was called Epstein's best friend. They hung out a lot, and they had a very close relationship. Just because they had a falling out because of like something in relation to some buying something, or they disagreed regarding I think it was like some type of property or whatever. That doesn't play into the fact that they were very clearly close and had no issues with what each other are doing. So Donald Trump knew exactly what Epstein was doing. There's a lot of evidence to dictate that he knew the type of actions that Epstein was doing, regardless of the fact Republicans wanted Trump to be elected so he could release it and expose this grand conspiracy. The problem is that now that he got elected, he's not doing what they wanted him to do. And now there's some people changing their tones, considering this is the main reason they voted him into an office. And that's just ridiculous. If you believe that there's this grand conspiracy of this pedophile that was doing all these crazy things, and that there's more pedophiles that are millionaires and politicians, then you changing your tune means that you don't care about the issue, or you're just morally bankrupt. That's the problem. It's the problem that Republicans are becoming hypocritical considering they ran on this issue. And when you have this such a morally heavy topic that you consider like game changing, you changing your mind is literally morally reprehensible, considering you think that this is a thing that currently exists. So that's one issue. The other thing about it is I do think Democrats are utilizing this as a political tool. I think if we had a serious conversation what actually is there, I think there's probably no concrete evidence of any like wrongdoing from anybody. I think there's probably very damaging evidence for politicians and Democrats like Bill Clinton, and very damaging evidence for Donald Trump and Republicans. And then there's very damaging evidence for millionaires, and there's damaging evidence for politicians in different areas. I think that is probably clear, but nothing concrete enough for you can guarantee convictions. So at that point, the Democrats probably didn't want to, the Democrats probably were just handling everything behind the scenes and not putting it out to the public because they are not sure what they can convict or not. Now, considering how crazy Trump is and how fascist the MAGA Republicans are, they know that this is the only thing that Republicans might care about. So now they're using this as a political tool, not because they don't think it's like they believe in the conspiracy, but they want people to recognize that Donald Trump is not going to do what they want, and they want them to recognize that Donald Trump is a terrible person. So there's like more nuance to what like actually is probably going on, but I'm fine with the Democrats doing this because, like I said, I think Trump is evil and his MAGA government's evil as well. So, and anybody who goes like, "Oh, we don't care about this anymore," they're a piece of shit and they have no morals. So that's the like the long-winded explanation, Austin. Democrats unite against Trump and divide themselves from within. They have no focus. That's why they are being violent. You're yapping. I don't know what you're yapping about. There's another small case. She just faked it. Oh yeah, you're yapping too. You're an idiot. Oh, I think no, I'm with you, Taco. Don't get me wrong. I think Donald Trump probably has a lot of things. I'm saying if I had to bet on it, there's probably not concrete evidence. I think if I had to if I had to either contextually or use my intuition, I think he probably did something crazy with the underage girl. I just don't think there's concrete evidence in the files. I think there's contextual, circumstantial evidence to make it very clear that Donald Trump is a piece of shit. So that's where I'm at. That's just the honest truth. That's like an objective analysis. Manufacturing is back in the States. We're competitive again. PTS, you're a moron. You're just making shit up. You're not making shit up. You're just kind of like a useful fool for the MAGA Republicans. Is doing pretty good. ICE is clearly not doing pretty good considering they killed 2 U.S. citizens. The deep state is real. Yeah, Donald Trump just created the deep state. They exist right now. I do like ICE, but I also don't think all these shootings are needed. I don't like the current version of ICE. I was fine with ICE in basically every other administration, even Donald Trump's first one. This current version of ICE is we're just hiring people with very lackadaisical training that can racially profile people. It's disgusting behavior.
Hutch is worried about our brothers to the left who are lost, and he's just trying to reach out to them and with an olive branch. That's all, and trying to bring them back to the flock. That's what I think.
Let me remove myself.
So respond to it.
As I said, my view of things is that, like, I think if Hasan stopped covering politics tomorrow, and the same goes for Kyle Kulinski, frankly, I think that would net votes for Democrats. So I think that my view of them, now we can debate that. That's fine. We can have a good faith debate and we can get into the minutia about that. But that's what I believe. And so when I go after these lefties, like, for example, Sean the Black, this guy,
So Hutch's conclusion, the reason why he goes after lefties is that he believes that they provide more harm than good for getting Democrats elected in battling against the fascist regime that is MAGA. That is the conclusion he came to. So, all right, we established the Hutch position.
He posted a tweet. The Democrats said something like, ICE are bad, or I don't know what they said. And he quote retweeted them and said, you voted to fund this. First of all, the Democrats, not a single Democrat voted for the one big beautiful bill, which is what added all that extra
Jared Golden
Hyundai
did.
and created it and created a
I think Jared Golden did. Yeah.
I don't think he voted for the one big beautiful bill. Could be wrong about that. So first of all, he's just wrong on the facts.
Maybe
But
I'm
second
wrong.
of
Check.
all,
No way he voted for that.
if you do a cursory search of Sean the Black's tweets, you'll see that he did not vote for
never
Kamala
mind.
Harris.
I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
So
Appreciate it, Austin.
get fucked. Like if you're going to spend your time on social media actively trying to tear down the Democratic Party candidate, you are actively helping Republicans win elections. You are complicit in 14 million projected dead from USAID cuts. The two people in Minneapolis would still be alive if people like you made better decisions, and they're going to keep doing it. And so like they act like opposition. And then when I treat them like opposition, the way that they behave, the way that they market themselves, they want to clutch their pearls and tell me that I'm being mean and counterproductive. Excuse me. My whole brand is I fucking hate Republicans, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to convince people to support every Democrat on every ticket for the rest of their lives. That's my entire
Yeah, our global trade is cooked right now.
fucking brand, bro. So if you're going to accuse me of being complicit in fascism when you are literally the reason why those people are dead in Minneapolis, you can get fucked. That's my position.
So Hutch is doing something interesting, and there's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it from the first point of view, where it is a direct corollary or correlated. How do I want to say this? I don't think you can make the good faith conclusion that it is A cause B, so C. But I do think some people may perceive it that way, and that's just lazy analysis. I think the best way to perceive it is clearly there are several different factors that played into the ultimate conclusion of the MAGA administration leading America. Obviously bad, objectively bad, clearly fascist. With that said, what are the different factors that played into this overall conclusion? You can point at different things. One of those things you can point at is that the leftists were not voting for Kamala Harris, or were blackpilling people to the point where people were voting for a third party or didn't want to vote at all. And I spoke with those people in my comment section where people were like, I'm not going to vote either. And somehow they didn't get the clear image that, if you don't vote, it's going to be worse for everybody. Like Donald Trump is going to be worse for the Israel-Palestinian conflict, and Donald Trump is going to be worse overall. And these people just didn't care. They couldn't equate what is going on. They are just super fixated on this one concept. Now, would I say that they caused it? If it depends on the flow of the conversation. If we're playing moral justice warrior, I will bring it out. Let's say if we're playing that moral justification case, then I might do what Hutch is doing in terms of looking at everything that actually happened. But it's probably not the most effective strategy, more than likely. I'm gonna actually move my camera. It actually doesn't look good on the vertical stream, so we'll go back on the quarter. Religion caused you to hate and judge others while you hold the Bible, then you need a new religion and go reread the Bible. It's not that they need new religion. It's just they don't understand religion. They don't understand their own faith. Most of the people don't. Changing from a consumer service economy to a producer will take decades, and the U.S. lacks millions of workers. You're so correct, Dennis. And a lot of people don't understand that. We are already losing so much manpower with the deportations.
On that.
Can I steal? I need to jump in real quick here, because even though I mostly almost 100% agree with Hutch, you're the reason they're dead, I think, is like the most inflammatory part of that. Because sure, they didn't help. They actively are hurting and driving voter apathy. But it's Trump and the admin is the reason they're dead.
Did you vote for Kamala Harris? No? Then you are part of the reason why those people are dead. You are
you can assign a hierarchy of blame, right? Like, are we going to blame leftists if Trump does a fascism? Like, no, it's Trump, right? Like, Republicans aren't just a force of nature. There are people actively making decisions that we should call out. And to say that, go ahead.
It's too attenuated is
voters
the point that's being made.
Are voters not responsible for the outcomes of elections?
Sure, of course.
Okay,
Some
then
sense,
they
yeah.
are partly. Then stop holding these people's hands. They are part of the reason why those two people are dead.
Who's holding their hands?
Straight up.
Who's holding their hands?
Straight.
In some sense, in all sense, voters are determinant on how the election. Voters vote for what?
This is when people frame it like, I don't know, I know you guys aren't doing it, but I like the pushback I get a lot is like, well, what choice did they have given Kamala's position on Gaza? It's like, what do you mean? What choice did they have? They decided to not vote for Kamala Harris. They knew what Donald Trump was telegraphing 1,000 miles away. They evaluated the risk, and at best, they were indifferent to Trump winning and the consequences thereafter.
I want to hear non-Fon's response.
Shout out
I
you,
want to say
Pete
something.
Tech.
Hutch.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Can't
Hutch
wait
is
to
valid
be
for
able to
going
vote
after
Austin.
lefties just because lefties have bad policy.
Don't
Okay,
vote
that's
Mac.
my opinion. But I mean, I think like I will say it's not clear to me whether or not Hasan would net Democratic votes if he quit streaming. That's not clear to me. But like I do like I think you should vote based on who has the highest expected value, essentially. And insofar as Hutch is advocating for that and condemning people who don't do that, I think that's, you know, voting based on expected value is what the trolley problem thing was insinuating earlier. I support Hutch's.
I clearly don't have an
movement
echo
in doing
chamber
that.
because you see all the MAGA people. In
That's
my
good. Well, listen,
Yeah.
Hutch, I want to take what you just said, though. On the hypocrisy stuff, no doubt. But aren't
You can't blame people other than those who voted for Trump. No, I can blame the people who voted for Trump more, but I also can blame the people who didn't vote for Kamala because there's only two outcomes: Trump or Kamala. Kamala. I fucking never know how to say it. So if you're not picking Kamala, you're wrong. Whether you don't vote or you vote for Trump, you're wrong in both instances. One has more severity. People voting for Trump is more severe. Both deserve blame. Let's be very clear about this. Hey, Steve, as long as I don't
you
get your heart,
analyzing two different actions, which is
it's kind of weird.
is your action justified in virtue of what the political conditions are, and is their vote justified? And one could come to the conclusion, and I'm not saying it's my conclusion, let me be clear,
Mhm.
that both them and withhold.
You know what, Slimer, to be fair to you, all right. I think this is a good distinction to make. When it comes down to the voting blame pool, so be it. I will say those who are absolutely ignorant of politics, I can understand. If they are not on the internet, if they don't follow politics at all, if they live in their own world where politics doesn't play into them at all, then they probably get no blame. I'm more so talking about the people who are actively in the politics game. I'm talking about the people who are actively talking about politics, researching about politics, have the ability to understand the threat that is Donald Trump. Those are the people I'm talking about. So every person who didn't vote, sure, I would not give every person. If you're an educated voter and you understand the threat, then yeah.
Holding their vote and shitting on Kamala did something wrong, but also you did.
Any
And
sources
that wouldn't
you
be
recommend, depending on what you're trying to research, Austin. I have some good news sources that I recommend. Here, let me pull this up. This is for you because I rock with you, Austin. So this is a description of one of my podcast episodes. Feel free to check it out. I talk with the guy who's running for governor in California, and he's a conservative. So here's some information that I recommend that you guys check it out that are some good sources. Unity, US United, very good organization that preaches unity amongst like all different people. Head On is a very good like platform that's trying to elevate AI. Otherweb is a good AI-based platform that filters news in a good way, not clickbait. Unbiased news. This is called Informed. HTTPS informed.now. They send news to your phone, and it's not biased. They just give you the facts, and it's to your phone very quick. You can just type in this number, and you can use code PURPLE to go do that. So those are some other examples. I have some other news sources that I use, like 1440 Ground News that I get like new politics news to my emails. So those are just some examples for you. Let's continue.
Consistent. And just saying, well, you guys are worse. That's not responsive to is what I'm doing.
Slimer, I agree. I don't like that people are not understanding of politics or not informed, but I'm at the very least like empathetic to the people who are unable to focus on it because of their lives. Like a homeless guy, a homeless guy in some random city. My expectation is he can vote. He's not focusing because he's focusing on living. So I can't be too upset about the guy.
Doing helpful.
I don't know if I said they're worse than MAGA, but mathematically they're the same. They had the same impact as a MAGA voter.
Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is my argument right now is that's not responsive to the claim. The claim is you're hurting the fight against Trump.
He did respond to the claim, Pisco. He very clearly responded to the claim. His conclusion, his hypothesis, he goes after the left because the left harms Democrats to the point where they're losing votes. So that's why he does what he does. He responds to your claim.
I disagree.
By attacking lefties. Right, no, but all I'm saying is you're responsible. You guys didn't vote for Kamala isn't responsive to that claim. It's like you're a hypocrite for even accusing me. How dare you accuse me?
You can judge me by
That's not what he said. That you're being disingenuous.
My actions. I have always, as soon as I started covering politics on all of my channels, I have always taken the position of, you guys, the Republican Party are getting worse and worse and worse. This is really bad. We are well beyond Obama versus fucking Mitt Romney in 2012. They cannot be allowed to have power. And I don't care how you feel about the Democratic Party. If you want to join this movement and stop them from doing these awful things, straight ticket Democrat, blue no matter who, you ignore people that call you a shill. Do you want this to stop? Then join this movement or be someone that helps Republicans win elections. Those are this is a binary choice. That
but the question is shitting on Kyle Kulinski so the question is shitting on Kyle Kulinski helping Republicans win elections?
Pisco, what do you think of the fact that Kyle Kulinski said on his YouTube channel last week that Gavin Newsom vetoed a single-payer healthcare bill in California? That did not happen.
That's true.
Okay,
what
not
happened?
true.
I condemn that.
He said that. And do you know why I think that's bad?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What is, before Israel-Palestine, what is the number one issue that Kyle Kulinski and his group of people focused on?
Medicare
corruption,
yes,
Trump.
Yeah. Medicare for all, right? So what is he telling you? It goes beyond just it being a false claim. He is telling his audience that Gavin Newsom committed a mortal sin according to their priorities.
But Hutch,
politics for the last 10 years.
Kyle would tell people to go out and vote for Gavin if he was in the general. I don't think
you are delusional.
You wouldn't?
You are delusional if you think. You guys, listen, I will believe it when I see it, okay?
Did you do that for Kamala?
No,
I'm pretty sure he
did not. I do not believe that he endorsed Kamala Harris. Absolutely. He endorsed Jill Stein, you guys.
No, that was previous year. That was previous.
No,
that was previous year.
In May of 2024, he endorsed Jill Stein.
Really?
Yes.
He was on for Marianne too, right?
Yes. And they were hyping up Marianne Williamson.
See, that's why I understand. I do wonder what the best usage of like your time would be in terms of acquiring political capital for the best interests of the people. I kind of waver. I'm trying to find like the best pathway on how I do this. I like analyzing these things to provide a level of context or understanding to these conversations. The reason why I'm doing this in particular is one, I like Hutch, I like Pisco, but I think there's value in figuring out what we should do with the left, like the far left. I have issues. I don't like Hasan. From everything I've seen from the Vanguard, I don't like the Vanguard. But there's no doubt that they also realize Trump is evil. But how much should you open up your arms to this side that is so harmful and thinks that Democrats and libs are all evil? One of the hardest things in terms of the political spectrum is that the center left liberals are consistently attacked by the far left and are consistently attacked by all of the right. So it's a two-pronged battle where like extreme bad rhetoric from both sides are attacking like probably the most nuanced factual voice on the spectrum itself. So knowing that calculation and knowing that voting is all about numbers, who are you supposed to appeal to? Should you moderate your voice to appeal to the non-voters, or should you open up your rhetoric to bring in and accept the far left? And I don't think Mamdani is a good litmus test for this. I think Mamdani has moderated his positions a lot, not his policy, but his rhetoric. So we'll see how this kind of plays out, but I don't know. They are getting hated. What don't you like about Hasan? I don't like how it constantly seems like he hates America with like a lot of his rhetoric. I don't like how he's kind of pushing, it seems to me from my perception, socialism as the better than capitalism, even though there's no provable method of socialism working on a large scale. I don't like how he equates MAGA and Democrats. I think recently, where with everything that's going on with the Alex Preddy situation, he said that Democrats are just as bad when it comes to law enforcement. And I'm like, why are you doing that? What's the point of that statement? I just don't think he helps the image of Dems. And obviously he's the whole stuff with 9/11 was really bad, to the point that Mamdani had to disavow it. I'm unsure if Hasan got good attentions too, because he preaches this kind of populist rhetoric, but this dude is a handsome millionaire that, from all intents and purposes, I don't see how he actually goes out of his way and pushes good policy or good results. So I just, there's so many things I just do not like about Hasan Piker. Hasan's the left Fuentes. I'm not going to finish the sentence. I can't say for certain Fuentes is bad. Hasan is bad. I have to think about that. The right mostly attacks the far left. The normal Democrats are totally fine. That is not true. The right attacks Dems and center libs a lot. It's the people who follow Destiny Hasan who ruin the left. Destiny is center left. Destiny is just very cringe and too sexually active. It's close. I hear you with it's close. Hasan said, but yeah. Would you accept the fact that many centrist Democrats supported Gaza genocide? I don't think many centrist Democrats supported Gaza genocide. I think they were empathetic to the Israel, considering what happened on October 7th. I think there are Democrats that wanted Hamas gone, considering they were a terrorist organization. However, I also think that there were parts of the Democrats that were not strong enough to put a stick against Israel, even though they're our ally. There needs to be a calculation, and it's a tough calculation to make, that yes, getting rid of the terrorist organization is very important, but also at some point there needs to be a realization that there are people there that are still suffering. Even so, you have to play a hardball. And there was times where the Democrats were saying you're doing too much, but they weren't playing hardball enough. They weren't being aggressive enough. And I think that's a fair criticism. I don't think centrist Democrats supported genocide. But I also don't think centrist Democrats, some of them, I don't know who I would pick out and name, weren't harder on Israel to end the conflict. Take your politics, your anti-Semitic left versus right, and shove it straight up your... I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't hate Israel. What the fuck? I don't hate Jewish people either. So I don't know what you're yapping about. Hamas sacrificed Gaza when... I agree with that. A propaganda war, I don't know if I would call it a propaganda war necessarily. Destiny's an omni-liberal, is not really center-left. It's most left. He only supports guns, really. So he's center-left. What? I don't know what you're referring to. I don't know what you mean by omni-liberal. Maybe there's a different term that I'm not privy to. Maybe you're referring to something that I'm not understanding. And at least 5 to 7 news apps. I was in the middle of a few right and a few on the left, so you can get the full view on the subject, or at least. I disagree with that. You don't need all of them. I think you just need good sources. And I gave you good sources. If you reduce who your news votes for, then it's not news, I guess.
He says that he's changing
in the primary or in the
general, bro. In the general
primary.
In the general, he said he endorsed. He had her on his program and endorsed Jill Stein. That's what he did after 4 years of Donald Trump. So I'm sorry. He says he'd support Joe Manchin if he was the nominee in 2028. I will fucking believe it when I see it.
I highly recommend.
I am not taking him at his word. I don't know why anybody.
I'm seeing some evidence he didn't. Okay, but if he does.
Oh, Pisco was about to say, I'm seeing evidence he does. Nah, he took it back. Ground News is a good one, Slimer. I use Ground News. They're really good. It'd be cool to get sponsored by Ground News. Jill Stein is 100% a wasted vote. So Kyle Kulinski, who endorsed Jill Stein, should be criticized heavily for not endorsing the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris. Look, we have too many problems. I want to be messing with other country tries. Now we should not be supporting Israel nor its action, but we don't have the right to be intervening, especially now. Don't have the right? Questionable. I still think we could do both. I always stand on the stance we can get involved in international affairs while also focusing on domestic issues. But what should be a priority? I think it's fair, and I think this position is fair. Focusing on domestic issues is more fair, especially considering the situation we live in today, where it's so fucked. Our politics is so cooked right now.
So you think it's possible he won't endorse the Democratic nominee if it's Gavin Newsom, right?
Absolutely.
It's in his DNA to attack the Democratic establishment candidate. Someone like Gavin's going to piss him off. But listen, I applaud Hutch for trying to help our brethren to the left who are far gone. But 90% of them end up voting for Democrats. So I'm not even worried about it. I think Hutch does it because he enjoys it, fighting with them. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But there's almost 100 million people, almost 100 million that didn't
IRA is correct. IRA is correct.
I focus my attacks on people with platforms, with people in positions of influence. It's true I'd argue with random people on Twitter, but in terms of like what I prioritize, if you have a platform and you're using that platform to obfuscate, speaking of which, Pisco, the Vanguard boys, they said some very questionable shit in your conversation. They're a part of this as well. They're a part of this as well. They said that Josh Shapiro covered up a murder, bro. You understand that
we're gonna talk about that. I know they said that. But we're going to talk about it. We're scheduling a conversation.
All it takes to debunk that fucking lunacy is like a cursory Google search, bro. These people are lazy, destructive arsonists.
Okay. So the question is, by you spending your time attacking Kyle Kulinski, attacking Crystal Ball, and attacking the Vanguard, do you think that is maximizing your ability to stop fascism? That's the question.
Yep. I do.
The answer is yes, because you think by attacking Kyle Kulinski, it's going to do what? In virtue of what?
I want to peel as many people away from that lunacy as I possibly can. that will net us votes and that will increase. You can have your people like Brian Tyler Cohen and Josiah that focus 100% of their attacks on Republicans. That's fine. What is wrong with me? Like the fact that you take issue with me calling them out and not the fact that Kyle Kulinski is telling, how many fucking views does that video have? 250,000 views? And he's telling his audience that Gavin Newsom vetoed single payer in California. It's
Here's
just
the
not
difference.
true.
Here's the difference. I think here's the difference. I think here's the difference. I think on net, Kyle Kulinski is a benefit to our effort to stop Trump. Whether
And how is on net Hutch not a benefit and an effort to help Trump? See, my issue with Pisco, and I think this is becoming more and more clear to me. Pisco's okay with you attacking Democrats. Pisco is more sympathetic to personalities. Because Kyle Kulinski could say this terrible thing about Gavin Newsom, and meaningfully, in terms of what is actually going on, Hutch is also attacking someone on the left, but all in pursuit and creating more votes for Democrats, in addition to him when he does attack Donald Trump, and Kyle Kulinski attacks Donald Trump. So why, when Hutch correctly fact checks and calls out wrong rhetoric and wrong information from Kyle Kulinski, while also doing what he does in support of Democrats and attacking Trump, why is that criticized? Well, when Kulinski says wrong lies about a Democrat politician, he's praised for the fact that he still attacks Trump. There's an inconsistency there. There's one of two things that's going on there. There's the first, or one of three things that's going on there. The first thing that is going on is a obliviousness on the comparison of the both actions. The second thing that could be going on is that there is a okayness, like he's perfectly fine. He's more than willing to allow it to happen. For if you're on a personality, a political commentator, a podcaster, you're okay with them attacking politicians. Politicians are always free game, but political commentators aren't. So he draws the distinction between content creator and politician, and I just don't know if that calculation makes much sense, but okay. And then the third thing that might be going on here is he's creating a analysis on determining size of audience and being more submissive to larger sizes if he believes it helps his cause. Now, obviously, that problem with that is that he would have to, at some points, capitulate to the large audience that someone like Asmongold and Hasan has, considering how big their audiences are, but also ignoring how bad their rhetoric is. So there's a lot of things that I don't like there. Saw a debate where someone tries to use Urban Dictionary as a source. I mean, Urban Dictionary is a source for finding a definition. It depends on what they used it for. Anything can be a source. Now, there's more reliable sources, more trustworthy sources than others, right? We know the term primary and secondary sources, right? Now, if you're just looking for a definition of a word and you're looking for a very broad and generalized definition, then Urban Dictionary is fine. However, if you want to go beyond the general definition and you want to go maybe into a legal definition or a philosophical definition or a colloquial definition based off generalized usage, that would be very different. All sources can be fine in a debate depending on how you use them. It's just information being used to prove a point. That's all it is. Hutch seems to be using flat earth logic. If we can prove flat earth, we can unravel all the lies. I don't think that's what's going on either.
Not a particular video I would think is bad. Doesn't really bear on that.
I don't agree with you. No,
Wait, let Guy in. Guy's been rolled over a couple times.
I mean, I agree. I think Kyle will come through in the end, but I don't have a problem with what Hutch does at all. I would never engage with the leftists. To me, it's more about like their lives suck, and so they're looking for something to blame, a boogeyman like capitalism or whatever, the establishment. So you're not going to get through to them unless you just put some change in their pocket and give them something to look forward to. But I think the bigger picture for me is the almost 100 million who didn't even vote in the election. I'd rather go after them. They seem a lot easier to win over than somebody who's some ogre boy weirdo who's got their heels dug in and, you know, just wants to suck on Hasan's knob. You know what I mean? Like,
all right. So
why
to
even
Huck's
bother?
point there, I agree. We need to capitalize on that. But I think what these lefties do is promote voter apathy by saying both parties are the same. Like if you come out and say, hey, I know this is awful and people are getting shot by ICE, but remember Ferguson? Like
But Kyle doesn't do that. But
well,
Kyle does not
I'm
do
not talking
that.
about Kyle right now. This is I'm quoting this on video, but it's like the idea that
How does he not do that if he? And I don't watch Kyle Kulinski enough, but if I'm using the examples that are being given, and he paints the picture of lies, where he's using an issue that he highly cares about and his audience cares about, and frames a candidate as antagonistic to the issue, then yes, there is going to be a overall image put in place that this guy doesn't care about Medicare, MAGA and Republicans suck, so I'm not going to vote. I don't know how Pisco can't understand that calculation. Do they need to actually say don't vote for you to understand the ramifications and consequences of rhetoric? That doesn't make sense to me. You can't be pro Democrats in the establishment need to improve their rhetoric and then ignore rhetoric that is clearly in front of your face that is harmful. That there's something doesn't match there. It doesn't make sense to me.
somehow you can compare the executive branch putting a department into a place that's causing this chaos and incompetence with state police is insane. It's just not at all these same things. And there's like all the like Hutch said, these cursory Google searches of just how these things work immediately dispel them. And if you're able to lie with basically impunity, like if people like Hutch didn't call it out, then you do just drive this insane, like, nothing's ever going to change. We just need to wait for the revolution. We got to firebomb the Walmart, and it never comes. And then fascists take power. Like it is important.
You're pressing me harder than you press Vanguard after they accused David Pakman.
Oh my God.
Hang on. Let me
Get
finish.
over yourself. What the fuck?
This is actually true, bro. You are pressing me.
Jesus
Let me
Christ.
finish what I had to
How
say.
am I pressing you? How am I pressing you?
So when I was reacting to this, I agree with Hutch's conclusion that Pisco was much more willing to ask follow-up questions, ask it with a sterner tone, and try to get a clear answer that either makes sense or dispels a wrong point that is being made. Right? He wanted to clear out the claim from Hutch that Kyle Kulinski endorses Jill Stein, or Kyle Kulinski made this claim about Gavin Newsom, and he's willing to either ask questions or follow up research. When he was talking to Vanguard, they were making outlandish claims, and they're about to say this, but I already watched this, so I'm going to kind of point it initially. They were saying crazy things about Democrats caused the genocide, or they were complicit to the genocide, they were complicit to murder, all this bullshit. And Pisco was silent. He didn't ask a follow-up question. He didn't press it. His tone was still even keel and welcoming. This is more stern and I wouldn't say forceful, but it's still more poignant. So Pisco's energy in both situations were completely different. Now, one caveat that I will make is I do think Pisco can be a character where if you attack him personally, his energy changes. That could be one explanation on why he's more willing to attack Hutch here than he was to the Vanguard. The second explanation or the second conclusion you could make is that because Hutch is a friend and a acquaintance, he's more willing to get aggressive and dive into these points further. I think it's fine to say that when you talk to certain people that you're not aligned with, you're more willing to kind of engage them with civil dialogue. So it's one or the other. And I still think both reasons are dog shit. Just because someone's attacked you, I think that's a dog shit reason to change up your tone, depending on, I think it's all based on context of conversation, and that should determine how you should be acting. And then the whole other thing about your friends, I mean, I'm more aggressive to my friends than like people that I don't know for sure. But when it comes to politics, I think you should be like even killed the entire time and handle it appropriately. Playing a character is fine, but when you're talking things through, I think it requires a certain level of consistency.
You are accusing me of wasting my time and going after people who
I'm asking a question,
and you're pressing me harder than Vanguard when they accuse David Pakman of being paid to celebrate genocide, is what they said.
I'm not.
They said that
I'm not.
He's examining Hutch's
genocide, and you did
So first of all, you're factually wrong. I did contest that claim. Will you? Hutch. Will you retract the claim? Will you retract the claim that I didn't contest the ideological connection between Chorus? In fact, I brought up Chorus in the first instance. Will you retract? Will you retract? Will you take the moment, Hutch? Will you take the moment right now to retract your claim that I didn't contest the fact that there's an ideological imposition?
I said you're pressing me harder than you press them.
How am I pressing you?
Well, this is also one thing I really hate that Pisco does. He focuses on words versus tone and versus the context of the conversation. So for me, when it comes down to it, I've spoken to different right-wingers, and I am very interested to get feedback on how I'm handling the conversation, if I'm pushing back or not. For me, when someone says something I disagree with, I make it very clear. I disagree. I do not agree with this sentiment. I think you're wrong. And I don't make it seem like we are aligned with this perception. Then I explain why I disagree, and then either we go back and forth, or this is either an agree to disagree moment, or we can find some level of compromise or consensus or middle ground. There's no way you can leave a conversation not understanding where my stance is, regardless of who I'm talking to. And that is what I try to do in every conversation, whether they're on the left, the center, or on the right. And I speak to all of them on my podcast because I am able to. Pisco, I do think there are certain conversations he has with people who are very clearly antagonistic forces for the overall agenda that he wants to push, where he's very much milk toast. And it's unsure if you are like against their positions or not. Just because you say, oh, I disagree. One word of you disagreeing where versus them saying a bunch of radical things doesn't mean much in the full context of the conversation, especially if most of your rhetoric is aligned with their criticisms. So yeah, it's a bad way to understand the value of conversation. It's not about words, it's about how you say the words. We're about to see Minneapolis turn on Waltz, and you're full of shit. Waltz is about to start using them to arrest protester rioters. The leftist mob mentality is going to be on full display. Yeah, that's not going to happen, Brute. You're making shit up.
How am I pressing you?
Now you're doing administration.
How am I pressing you? I'm asking.
You're not pressing me here. You're not pressing me on this?
By asking you whether or not you think, just elucidating the view that Kyle Kulinski is net bad for the Democrats. Just asking that question is pressing you.
You say stuff like Kyle Kulinski, he doesn't do that. What do you mean he doesn't do that? In 2016,
that's pressing you?
Hold on. In 2016, he was Bernie or bust. In 2020, he was on election night on Joe Rogan's podcast. Joe Rogan asked him who he voted for. He said, nobody, I don't vote for war criminals.
Vincent McMahon.
Okay? After 4 years of Trump, he said that. In 2024, he endorsed Jill fucking Stein. And you want me to give him credit for kind of going after MAGA kind of hard when it's like in vogue right now? What was he doing?
I'm saying
before
since
that?
the
years.
I'm saying since
of
the I'm saying
lying
since the new
ass off
administration,
about Democrats,
so first of all, the claim is I'm pressing you and I'm treating you so horribly.
I don't mind
Like
if you
you're
press
like,
me. Keep pressing
oh
me
my
harder.
God,
You press me.
I'm being so
Why
mean to you right now.
Why didn't you ask? Why didn't you ask them? Don't you think you're hurting the Democratic
Pisco's
Party
being
by
so bad
saying
at
stuff
face.
like
The first topic of our
David
entire
Pakman gets
the
paid
I'm
for
definitely
topic-
watching the Royal Rumble.
genocide?
the first topic
Pretty
was
good.
entirely monopolized by the quote unquote elephant in the room about whether or not they're willing to support and endorse Democrats. The end of the conversation, they say,
Friends
we
like
are
these.
going to endorse the Democrats.
It's not. It's the calculation on if what they're providing in a conversation is that good or bad for the overall influence of people voting Democrat. Their endorsement means jack shit if 90% of their content is criticizing Democrats. Like, what are we doing? And I don't know if it's 90%, but I'm just saying. Got a big surprise brewing for Mania. What are you gonna do? Vince
After
they have views of genocide,
covering up a murder and like Gavin Newsom killing babies or whatever. They
which
make up on the
immediately
fly at that point.
which immediately I said I don't agree. Let's have a conversation about that at a later time. But I'm now being.
So you decided to have a conversation at a later time for things that they were blatantly saying wrong in the moment that is currently happening. But Hutch says something and you want to attack him now. Again, disconnect. As long as I think Triple H clears you, Vince McMahon.
To you, I don't understand that. Like,
I
went through the whole virtue signal. I went through the whole virtue signal thing with the Vanguard.
You're not hurting my feelings.
Bruce, I think
truly, I like these exchanges. I don't mind them, and we can move on after this. But like,
and Pisco, I do expect it. I love Hutch, but just to be clear, he's just.
No,
saying,
I do love Hutch.
It seems like you're diving more deeply into the ideology that Hutch is doing, and I don't think you're being mean, but
give me a break. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
That is
Vanguard thing, but it seems like you didn't ask even follow up questions or kind of like stay on these topics with them. Is that kind of what you're saying, Hutch? Is that it?
No,
you could have gone. You
that's
could have
not
gone harder.
true.
You could have gone harder.
That is true.
Wait, so the critique, as I understand it, not that Pisco agrees with it, just the one he raised is that like Hutch attacking the lefties is like negative expected value, but he in with regard to Democrats winning, but like,
I didn't even assert that. I'm just wondering whether or not he agrees with the. I didn't even assert. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, this is the
you, but you keep on attacking it. He's answered it several times. What are you looking for with this question? What do you want? I don't think you want an answer. I think you want reflection. I think you want a change in intent. That's what's going on here. He's going to need to stop fucking pussyfooting around. That shit pisses me off.
So we're having I don't think he crashed out. Okay, cool.
No, he didn't. It did that.
Yeah, something's
I don't
happening.
dislike Pizza, by the way.
I was just there was a topic that was going to be introduced about lefties and about Hasan, and I'm like, this is the accusation. I want to hear what you have to respond. And then Hutch said, I actually think it would be better off for Democrats.
Yeah, I already know they're speaking past each other, Brute. I already know that, which is why I kind of contextualize everything that's going on. My issue, but I just like hope Pisco understands what he's doing here. That's what I hope.
If these people weren't like influenced in stuff, that's something I disagree with.
No.
And I'm just disagreeing with it as IRI is. And I just don't think that is like pressing Hutch in a way that I like didn't press Vanguard. I just think I'm just like, I don't agree. And I certainly said I don't agree with the Vanguard.
Guy's name on the bottom left is I'm really important. So this is Pisco. I'm really important. He debates on TikTok. Hutch. Non-fallen. First time I've seen this guy. Soy pill. Pisco. Fuck keeps moving. Well, now he's on the bottom left. One of these days, I was supposed to speak with Hutch for my podcast. I just never had time to speak with him. I eventually will speak with Hutch. I eventually will speak with Pisco. I'll eventually speak with all these guys at some point. I eventually will speak with all of them. Politics, they want to win the argument. Now found a middle ground, something like this. See, this is not even a political conversation. I think what is going on right now is Pisco. It's hard. Peace code sometimes doesn't make sense to me. There's two things that could be happening, in my opinion. Either Pisco is trying to get everybody on the same wavelength on endorsing Democrats and attacking MAGA. I believe that's what he wants people to just do. Everybody just aim right. Either that, I don't know what else. I don't know what else he could be doing here. Maybe he just generally wants to understand the inquiry of what Hutch is doing. Maybe, I don't know. That's a little too good faith for me. I don't know if it's that good faith.
Listen, I'll be fair and I'll say, because I told my chat, I was like, listen, you're not always going to take the same tone. Sometimes if you're having some conversations on some platforms, it makes sense to take a different tone. And so like, I really was balancing that. Like, I understand that that's probably what you were doing in that spot. And so maybe there's value there. But there was another part of me too.
That's the problem that's going on, bro. Like, Pisco, it's not clear what he's trying to do here. He's providing an assertion about Hutch, but he doesn't agree with the assertion. So what's the point of the accusation? It doesn't make sense what he's trying to do. That's why I'm so unclear with his motive.
That watched that conversation, and there were a few moments where I would have pushed back.
It was
like,
just
way fucking harder.
Cringe.
Like the fact that they accused David Pakman of being paid to celebrate genocide, and then you actually, to your credit, you actually said, wait, hold on. And you called him out on that. And then he immediately 180'd. That fucking Gavin idiot immediately 180'd and said, I didn't say that.
Yeah,
literally 5 seconds before.
Well, I think, I think that was a weak claim.
Like, I'm just asking you, like, who do you think is doing more damage to Democratic Party prospects? Me for focusing on lefties that I think.
You think it's a bad claim, but not harping on the initial point and making them reflect on them saying this so callously is the problem with Hutch. You're focused on Hutch reaching this bridge of understanding so you can be on the same wavelength, but you were not doing that for the Vanguard.
I think are way out of their, like, completely untethered from reality and their quote unquote like criticism.
I think Hutch
Democrats.
It's
not a criticism to say that Josh Shapiro covered up a murder.
I don't think you're doing much damage at all, Hutch.
That is smearing a Democratic Party.
I don't think you're doing. If you're asking my opinion, Hutch, I don't think you're doing much damage at all. I think if anything, the only criticism that maybe could be levied at you is like an opportunity cost of like what is a better use of your time. But I don't think you're doing any damage.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you give them too much credit, man. Like, these people don't have that much influence, man. I'm telling you. It's you might maybe disagree with me, but like the Vanguard boys and Kyle Kulinski are not determining the election, man.
Kyle Kulinski gets like 40 million views a month.
It doesn't matter.
Shitting on Trump.
Excuse me.
Putting a spotlight on Trump's like horrible shit. And this is one of the reasons why
I just told you that Kyle Kulinski told his audience last week that Gavin Newsom vetoed single payer in California. Almost any time he talks about Democrats, it's in a negative context. Almost any time, bro.
He and Crystal did endorse Jill Stein in May of 20.
See proof. Kyle and Crystal endorsed Jill Stein. Like, what are we doing here? It just doesn't make any sense. The thing is, a lot of these people on the left, and I disagree with what IRI is saying. I think a lot of people genuinely just did not vote because of the Palestinian-Israel conflict. And there was just a lot of misunderstanding on what actually was going on. Criticism in a lot of different directions, deserved criticism. But people think that everything's going to be better for Palestinians now that Trump is in charge. You know what question I would ask someone on the left? If Donald Trump made a two-state solution that was in the best interest of Palestinians, is he a better candidate, despite everything he's done, than Kamala Harris? And I think they would say yes. I think they would ignore everything else he did. Harris didn't pick Shapiro because he was too Jewish. How do you know that? When I miss, I'm currently writing a movie script, so I'm kind of distracted. Ooh, a movie script. Shout out.
2024, which is I didn't know this, and I guess I retract my statement
Kyle
of
Kulinski
I don't
endorsed
think
Joe
Kyle would
Stein.
do
That was
that.
a
That's
dumb move.
insane that they did
I didn't
this.
make that shit up. He does it every time. And so I'm sorry. I don't believe him when he says he'll fucking support the nominee. If it's Newsom, no. He's like, he's going to shift the poll. He's going to shift the goalpost and be like, you know what? It's no longer Trump, so the stakes aren't as high. That's what he's going to do. It's so fucking predictable.
Palestinians. I mean, I agree. So I actually have like deep conversations about Israel Palestine with the program I'm with called Head On, and people thinking that two states are one, like this stuff is not that simple. It's annoying when like people like lefties just think that they know what's in the best interest of everybody there. It's quite frustrating, to be honest. And then they use that as a means to just criticize everybody. I understand the empathy. Trust me, I understand it. You care about people dying. I understand. I get it. I actually respect that a lot, that people are so humanitarian, they care about people's lives. I think more people should be like that. I genuinely do. However, oftentimes the world is not that simple. It's not that easy. It's much more complex. But I want people to keep that in their heart, because the moment we treat people as numbers, as statistics, as things that can be thrown away, that's how we fall as a society. So I respect their emotion, but their analysis of what is going on is incorrect. Two-state solution been on the table. There's a different times, a lot of disagreement. When I spoke with someone before, I think one of the most interesting solutions was like a modified one-state solution where there are certain territories that could be made into like territories, is my memory. It's been a while since we talked about this. But they have a level of sovereignty, but it's just like certain villages can be made into like sovereign territories, and then there's kind of a unique coalition that works together with Israel. Yeah. Conversation for a different day. Israel, Palestine. We'll see how all this phase 2, phase 1 stuff goes, of course. Suicidal empathy. And I don't know if I would call it suicidal empathy necessarily.
Yeah, so like I can totally
accuse anyone who doesn't agree with you as evil.
Well, I just say I think these third-party voters,
Yes.
they're never going to vote for Democrats. Same thing with on the right, they have these libertarian weirdos that will never vote for Republicans either. That's all.
Hutch,
I was going to say,
you have any
go for it, Adam.
yeah, sure. This is somewhat a different topic. Any obligation to like actually fight the lefties on policy issues? Like when I talk to more lefty people, it's almost always about my issues with the actual policies, instead of like just trying to get them to vote for Democrats, even though maybe I should be getting them to vote for Democrats.
I'm constantly fighting on policy with these people.
Is there a non-fighting way like that we could also like spend our time? Like this person brings up an interesting question. Like if we look at the things that we probably agree with, like you liked Mamdani, you endorsed Mamdani, and it's like, is there some of this stuff where we're not capitulating to their, I'm holding my vote out for a concession?
You know what they should be doing? They should be doing what I do and have more content focusing on solutions, right? This is what I implore more political commentators to do. And I want to get out there more. And of course, I'm going to plug my podcast again, but I think it's necessary for this larger conversation. Yes, I break down politics, of course. I do that. But I have all these conversations that are supposed to push perspective, push narrative, and talk about things. I try to explain things that are misunderstood. I just have different personalities coming on, help with understanding. I bring in people to help with like, okay, what's going on with the homeschooling stuff. I bring in people to talk about police reform. He was a candidate to run for Alabama. I bring in. I did a whole thing talking about the issues Ohio voters care about because I'm in Ohio, so I want people to understand that. I had a MAGA guy talk about Christianity and politics. Come on, and we try to reach some level of agreement. I had some guy who was a lawyer talk about immigration. I had a person who, commissioner, talk about that our American welfare system is flawed and these are improvements we should do. Like, I talk a lot about things we could do that could better help the country. And I do think it's important to contextualize, criticize, and debunk misinformation, but you also need to provide people with solutions and substance. And that's why I think someone like Mamdani, regardless if you agree with everything he has, he actually had tangible ways to improve life. So I think you could do both, but sometimes people only focus on tearing down without building back up. You need to do both. That's why left hates the right, because they can't summarize what the right thinks. They accuse them of being evil. I mean, the right does the same thing. I think like the people, I think there's people on both sides that think they're evil based off very superficial reasons. With that said, I do think there is legitimate things to not attack the whole entire right, because I'm okay with Republicans. I don't think MAGA is Republican. I think MAGA and Groypers are evil. I think fascism is evil. Do a deep dive on cohesion rights? Cohesion? What's cohesion rights? What are you referring to there?
But we're like, hey, is there some portion that we can bleed off of the Kyle Kulinskis or the Hasan voters where we say, oh, you know what, that's a good idea. Let's get some like Medicare reforms, or let's do the XYZ. And we don't have to constantly be infighting, but we can still bleed off the ones who are like, otherwise we'll just be like, I'm not voting. They're not doing anything I want. Is that even something we can focus on?
I don't think there's a passive way to engage with like Hasan Piker a couple days ago was interviewed by, I don't even know, some like pro-Assad, like Syrian, like news thing or whatever. And they asked him about, I don't know what they asked him about, but he said straight up, like, a lot of people think that Democrats are opposed to police brutality, but, Ferguson happened when Obama was president, which is a statement that is so fucking meaningless that it insults my intelligence. It happened when Obama was president. What the fuck does that have to do with Barack Obama? That was an issue of the local police department. And do you know what the Obama administration did?
All right. While this plays, I'm going to look that up. That actually sounds interesting.
Eric Holder and the DOJ at the time investigated the Ferguson Police Department, and they forced a consent decree enforced by a judge to implement reforms at that police department. And do you know what the Trump administration did when they murdered 2 people in Minneapolis? They said the people were fucking terrorists and ICE agents. You have immunity. Go nuts. And Hasan's out here saying, like, a lot of people think Democrats are different on ICE.
No, wait, Hutch, I agree with this criticism 100%.
Quick pause. So I'm guessing this is what you're referring to. Coase theorem. Coase theorem formulated by economist Ronald Coase articulates a key principle economics and law concerning property rights. It posits that in perfect market conditions without transaction costs, parties disputing property rights efficiently resolve issues through bargaining. This theorem underscores the potential for optimal allocation of resources when market conditions are perfect, encouraging solutions driven by negotiation rather than regulation. I might look into this deeper. I would there's a couple things I'm already thinking of. Relying on negotiation can first thing that comes to mind, provide opportunity for abuse. There's people who have more, because negotiation requires a few things. Obviously the skill of negotiating, but it requires leverage. And if certain entities have more leverage, there's very clearly a power imbalance there. So I'm kind of concerned that regulation is supposed to ensure that the power imbalance is equated, or at the very least even out to an extent that this side can be a part of the conversation, be a part of the battle. I don't know. I'm not fully on board with that, because I think, but I will potentially look into this to see how it deals with that problem in particular. Let's go back.
Didn't I bring that
fucking
up in the
ridiculous.
Vanguard conversation? I'm pretty
AI
sure.
solving the friction of negotiations,
The whole thing. I didn't
but
get to-
AI still too flawed
Brought up was the fact that he was doing this false equivalence
to
bullshit
do that.
with one of this interview shit. I was like,
consistently.
I get it. No, that's fucking stupid. It's wrong. And
Solve that with shares as ownership. But even shares, not everybody has an equal share of things, so there's still a leverage problem. Still, I might consider it.
the false equivalence
I'll put it in my
bullshit
notes.
is pathetic. I just like would distinguish someone like that from Kyle Kulinski. I think Kyle Kulinski and Vanguard, they don't do the false equivalence shit. And it's not just me who says that. Like, if my opinion doesn't mean anything, Josiah also says that. Do you think
We both-
Josiah is wrong about that?
Yeah, I think you're both wrong.
Oh,
100%.
wait, Pisco. I mean, just addressing the fact we just showed the tweet where he's endorsing the Green Party in the year where
I know. Yes, I agree. That they
is
had
that not a false equivalency. If you're unwilling to endorse
100. No, the third party bullshit. And that's, by the way, this is to the credit of the Vanguard over Kyle Kulinski and Crystal Ball in that moment.
Why you were just defending Kulinski, you pivoting to defending or using this as a means to uplift Vanguard is a weird pivot. There's an interesting question: should we work with the left to defeat Trump? I don't know. I'm still weighing that. I'm still unsure. I'm trying to figure a good balance. Not the entire, like the far crazy left. I like a lot of people on the left. I don't like the crazy far left.
They have always been against the third party grift. Have always thought it's stupid, et cetera, et cetera.
That's not true,
They've said
by
that.
the way.
Why are you rolling your eyes?
It's not true. That's not true. He was,
Everyone
he
is
was-
Tell me when did the Vanguard endorse the third party?
look it up. There's a conversation that they had with Vosh, and Vosh had to walk them like babies through the logic of not voting for third party. It was early 2024. Vosh was the one that convinced them to stop fucking
In
entertaining.
2024, they were shitting on
They
the people who were organizing the third party
Look it
stuff.
up.
I saw
Look
them
it
do
up,
it.
man.
All right. I mean,
They shifted. I'm just saying, but we're not always opposed to third party shit. That's just not true.
I have seen them call out the third party bullshit, but
you can go look at it. But I want to go back to my question because I truly want to know if this is even viable and if this is something that like Hutch or any of us could spend more of our time on. Because as much as I am all for calling,
Oh yeah, I remember watching this guy on Piers Morgan, and to be fair, no matter how smart I think I am, there's too much like understanding of physics that I just don't know. I have to do too much research to know that. But I think Sean Carroll did a pretty good job against Eric Weinstein here from my memory.
people out like doing this, I agree with your criticism 100%. Is there not? Like IRI has this mentality, I like it, where it's just like, I'm fucking
Okay, interesting.
Democrat, period. The left,
I know at the very
period,
least it's not
forces
dumb.
of evil. I don't give a fuck. We're doing whatever we can to win. And I respect that to a degree. Is there not a way to capitalize and almost undermine the message that the parties are the same by stealing some of the best ideas from the left-wing politicians who are winning?
Don't you think
Best
that people
ideas.
don't you
The
think
best
that
ideas, yes, not the
don't you
bad
think
ones.
that
why
different
don't you
people
answer
can
the
wear
question?
hang on. Don't you think that different people can wear different hats?
No, sure. I'm just saying, can't we do both? Like we could wear two
We
hats.
can.
I have several hats to wear. As you can see.
But okay, if that's the case, then you
see
should
them.
criticize. You should criticize David Pakman or mostly David Pakman and Josiah and Brian Tyler Cohen, who focus 100% on Trump stuff. They're wearing that hat. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That connects with their audience. They're good at that. They like diving into those things. That's their strength. Go for
Okay,
it.
well, the past the pundit phrase, just the Democratic Party. Is there ways that we can undermine this movement without criticism? Like, of course, I think people were like, yeah, if you go and disavow Hasan at the DNC, like that'll really get more voters. What about taking some of the best parts of what Mamdani did and integrating that into the left-wing party and saying, hey, people, you think we're
Mamdani
the
is
same.
nothing like these fucking idiots.
I know,
Mamdani is
that's
actually
what I'm saying.
smart. Mamdani is
sure.
actually smart. He's
I'm okay.
actually a smart guy. That's why he.
I think I understand what Soypil's doing, and I'm sympathetic to it. Sometimes I have to. We did Eric destroyed Carol. Why are there 3 generations of matter? Eric asked, "What did Carol answer?" I haven't watched it in a long time. I don't know. I don't remember Root. I'd have to rewatch it again for me to give you a solid answer. But when it comes down to, there's an interesting calculation there, and I'm just unsure about it. I know people who voted for Trump that are not terrible people, that are fine people, good people. I will always think Trump is evil, and I always think his MAGA base is evil. I always think Hasan, I don't know, he's a piece of shit. And I think Jenks is a piece of shit. And I think there's other far lefties that are pieces of shit. So it's like, is the equation pacifying certain aspects of them while also extending open arms to their base? Or is there a different equation altogether that focuses on the center, the moderate, the normies? I just don't know. I really just have to truly think about that. I'm talking to a lot of people. I think I'm getting an understanding of what I want to do, but I'm still not sure. I need more. Give me a couple more months. Give me a year maybe, and I might figure out an answer. Answer because string theory has failed. I don't remember Brute. I think they're evil because you don't understand how they come to their conclusion. I completely understand how they come to their conclusions.
He doesn't do this stupid shit.
Right.
You know,
That's why I like Mamdani, because he's a Democrat. He's a
How
proud
do I-
Democrat.
you tell me, how do I
Well,
civilly
Dami's
engage
100%
with someone
a
who
normal-
accuses
a
Josh
Democrat.
Shapiro of covering up a murder?
I mean,
What's
you
the
can
nice way of
you can make
engaging?
and
Do you
patronize them at
do you
the same
civilly
time.
engage? Do you civilly engage with counterpoints?
I guess.
I rarely
Most of
talk
the
to
time you can't,
counterpoints. I don't
sure.
know the last time I talked to him.
Would you?
Actually
So
evil?
you don't civilly engage with people who say absurd shit sometimes?
No, I don't generally.
I don't understand
you
this.
know
Like
me,
they
bro.
fucking
You know
purity
me.
testing.
You
It
know
reminds,
me.
it reminds me of lefty
I don't
shit.
want
It sounds like purity testing.
Or
Yeah,
too
they could be
What?
totally out to sea on the Josh
meta-ethical,
Shapiro
but
shit and
sure.
on accusations. They also, in the
Well,
course of our
what's the nice
conversation,
way-
accused
what's
Kamala
the nice
of
way of
engaging in a
engaging?
genocide. But
Well, what's
the
the nice
purity
way of
test is
engaging
whether
with
or not you want to stop Trump, not like, hey, do you have this one policy I want or not? It's not a single issue voter. If the single issue is, are you going to vote? Like, right? Like it's the complete opposite.
so I don't even understand the question. Can you repeat it one more time? Sorry.
Well, you're saying it reminds you of purity testing of the left. But purity testing of the left comes from, well, I like XYZ, blah, 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 but they're not for single player. I'm not going to vote for them, which is what we're opposed to. And their Hutch's purity testing is,
Oh, so what's
are
the
you
analog?
gonna
What's the
vote
analog?
them?
Okay. So no, the
I
purity
think
test
it
is
is pretty
how do I even
bad.
engage
I'm
with
with you,
someone who thinks
Capone.
Josh Shapiro covered up a murder? And I'm like,
No,
I don't know.
civilly engage.
Like, how do
Civilly
you engage with anybody? Civilly engage with someone like
yeah, that's Soy Pill
I
saying,
civilly.
can't we be nice
IRI
to
is a
everybody?
perfect example. Guess what? IRI interacts with people who say absurd shit all the time, engages with them. We engage on some of the Epstein stuff. Like there are people whose allegations on some of the Epstein stuff go way past what the evidence shows. So
This is a false equivalency by Pisco, comparing the fact that IRI engages with people that he's doing so to either understand or debunk, for the most part, debunk, contextualize, and how their information or their behavior is incorrect. You went into the conversation with the Vanguard, and I'm like, I don't know what you were there. It seems like you were just both there to shit on the Democrats. I don't know what you actually gained from that conversation, Pisco. You never really challenged them. You just believe them to their word.
far, and they're like, I think that it's been established that it's been a grand conspiracy and Israel's actually covering it up, blah, blah, blah. I still engage with those people, even if they have some absurd opinions. Guess what? It's called America. And so I don't understand why you couldn't civilly engage with someone who thinks Josh Shapiro covered up a murder, actually. I don't know what the basis of that is.
What if the people that you're engaging with are liars? What if they lie?
What's the lie? What's the lie?
I'm glad you asked. So the Vanguard, for example, in your conversation with them, they said, no, we disavow the crazies, the ones that say voted third party, like we didn't like voting for Kamala, but I get in my, I call them out all the time and my audience calls me
What's the lie? What's the lie? What's the statement? It's a lie.
If you go to their Twitter.
Pisco, how about you let them fucking answer? You didn't have this energy with the Vanguard. You didn't press them to answer the fucking question. That's the problem. This double standard on your behavior with certain people is annoying. And it's crazy. I've seen you be antagonistic to people that you're against. We saw that with Ryan Mullally or whatever when you debated him. We see when you debate certain people on like Wix panels. It's just interesting how you pacify so much for certain people. Maybe because they're nice to you that you pacify. Maybe it's really just like if I am mean to Pisco or nice to Pisco is how he's going to behave. I think that's my conclusion.
Twitter feed right now. What is the first thing you see on the top of their feed? That is them retweeting Sean the Black, who is one of those guys who did that
what
shit.
What is the lie?
He literally said what the lie is. Like, Pisco's not listening. No, it's not. He has to bring everything in context, right? This is the point.
What's the lie? What's the statement? It's a lie.
What's
the lie? What's the lie?
I'm glad you asked. So the Vanguard, for example, in your conversation with them, they said, no, we disavow the crazies.
So right here, what is he doing? He's contextualizing. He's giving the statements that are the lies. So he's putting everything, he's framing everything and picking the exact quotes to debunk.
The ones that say voted third party, like we didn't like voting for Kamala, but I get in my foot. I call them out all the time, and my audience calls me.
What's the lie? What's the lie? What's the statement? It's a lie.
It's very, and then in that situation, it's very clear with the change of tone in terms of the sarcastic semblages that the lie is the fact that they said, I call them out all the time. Like, you understand voice inflection, you understand the meaning behind changing the tone to very clearly insinuate what the lie is. So he says what the lie is with his tonal change right there. I don't know, like any person can understand that. He gave the quote.
You go to their Twitter feed right now. What is the first thing you see on the top of their feed? That is them retweeting Sean the Black, who is one of those guys who did that shit.
What is the lie?
So, and then he provided receipts of them not disavowing someone who they said that they do disavow. Everything was very clear. It didn't take that long. It's not that hard. Just listen. Let them get to the point. It's not hard.
They position.
I've retweeted Trump supporters before. I've retweeted Trump supporters before.
In the conversation with you, they said that they disavowed the fringe crazies who did the fucking anti-electoral stuff. That's clearly not true.
Not for who they are, but on those opinions, Hutch. Come on. What's the lie? You're saying, wait a second.
To believe that these guys lie. Like they are bad.
What's the lie? What's the fucking lie, Hutch? Hey, identify the statement that's a lie.
They do not. Like,
what's the statement what is the statement that is a lie, Hutch?
I just told you.
They said they disavowed the third party bullshit. That doesn't mean I'll never retweet someone who did that.
Okay.
Wait. Don't just disengage. That's some cuck shit right now. Hang on. Don't just disengage with that.
I don't think these are honest actors.
Hang on. Wait.
They have not demonstrated
I'm just trying.
honest actors.
So you can say that.
And the moment Pisco finally, after getting railroaded by Hutch the entire time and not being able to respond to any of the things, now Pisco is like, okay, time for me to attack and push Hutch. Again, he didn't have the same energy, the same aggressiveness when he was debating Vanguard, who were saying all this shit about Democrats. This is the problem with Pisco. It's fucking inconsistent. What is Pisco's original claim? He has no claim. He has no claim. He just wants to call out Hutch. There's no point in any of this. I think he just wants Hutch to stop attacking his lefties, I guess.
They have some lies in the past. I'm not saying they've never lied. I'm just saying at this moment, you have not identified a false statement, have you?
When they had the conversation,
have you identified one or not? Have you identified a false statement or not?
Pisco, let him respond.
You can act
Pisco, this is fucking showmanship. This is what pisses me off. And he tries to, oh man, this shit pisses me off. I don't know. It's getting me heated. It's because I know Pisco's better than this. That's what pisses me off so much.
Honestly, you can act dishonestly.
Weasel. What's the false statement?
You can act dishonestly without necessarily saying something that's dishonest. Does that make sense? In the conversation you guys were having about the Taylor Lorenz article with Chorus, right? They repeated like 3 things that were totally debunked within 1 day of that story being dropped. Okay. They could have made just a tiny bit of effort to follow up on what people were. They claimed, they repeated the lie that Chorus creators had to go through Chorus to schedule any interview with a politician. This was totally debunked within 24 hours. So it gets to a point where if someone is so incurious,
Hutch's point is that the Vanguard boys are more than willing to retweet or align with people that are antagonistic to Kamala Harris. Now, did he find a very specific line to debunk the claim? I think if you want to be very semantical with it, no, he didn't. I understand the point, but Pisco is looking for a PRW. So he wants to get into semantics. He wants to get in very clear distinction on, is this a lie or not? That's what's going on right now. Before they can agree on what the other person, 100%. And these was like supposed to be on the same side. This, like, Brute, you obviously are MAGA. If you watched his conversation with the Vanguard, this energy he's giving was not shown. They're very good. Honestly, people you should listen to, Brute.
someone is like not willing to make the tiniest amount of effort to actually look into the things that they're covering, and all they're pushing is the same fucking narrative bullshit every day, I call that dishonesty. I don't think they're honest actors. I don't know why we would spend even a second trying to court these people.
Why?
I think there's a lag.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? I'm just testing it. Can you guys hear me or not?
We can hear you. There is a lag.
You're a little discombobulated, but it's fine.
Hang on, I'm gonna refresh 1 sec.
What is that water bottle?
Okay.
Like,
Well, for
very
high.
heated, and
Sorry,
right now one of the parties
do I
not here.
vote for
but
Trump
I
to
do
be
want to say
MAGA?
this. We were having
No.
Vadim on to have to
Yes.
talk about this discussion next week,
Yes.
so I'm sure we'll get more into it, and it'll get even more loud and crazy and annoying.
Is it
And
better? Testing 1, 2, 3.
and
You're back, and
Vadim and
and Ogre Boy's coming on.
Ogre Boy's coming on Live and Learn.
Vadim.
Oh my God, that's disgusting. I might have to watch this one live, but I'd rather watch Monday Night Raw. I actually have to debate whether or not because I want to send super chats when I hear bullshit. You never voted for Trump, Brute? You don't make sense to me. Are you a libertarian?
It's gonna be awesome. What a great show. You guys should sub to the channel.
Oh my God.
But here, let's hear from our guest. What is
Yes.
your thoughts on this back and forth non-fun?
Listen, I think this is why I like talking about policy, okay? Because I think you can discount a lot of the sort of both parties are the same and like the weird narrative shit, especially if it is true these people like just never look into stuff. Like if you can convince them that like single payer healthcare might not be like super great, that like some of these policies are just like kind of cringe. I think you can make them a lot more comfortable voting for Democrats. And I don't know if it's easier to convince them that these policies are bad than it is to like convince them to vote for Democrats because of the threat of Trump or whatever. But I think you need to be neolib pilled, Hutch, and I did go in on Ogre Boy about the elasticity of investment to pharmaceutical companies' revenues.
Well, I want to bring up real quick. I do have to say because the super chat has become
That's why I
elucidated
consider myself
to me. The horizon effect, the trolley problems. It's this idea that right now we were just presented with a dichotomy: either Hutch does this or not, or either Hutch goes super hard against them or not. And the horizon effect is in artificial intelligence. There's so many variables for it to look through, and so it can only narrow this down to like a very small sector and then look through these where if you keep trolley probleming and narrowing everything down, you get super tunnel visioned on these are the only 2 options. And non-fun just came in and said, well, what if we, have this like policy solution that actually convinces people to come over with, and so like, yeah, you can shit on them, but you can also do this. And both of these things are going to be aiding and growing our party and getting votes. So yeah.
But these people are not serious about policy. Let's just be clear. Like if you ask them, what would you done What would you have done
I thought you were talking
in
about
response
kayfabe
to,
in
let's say, like the massive
I don't know what
influx
you're
at the
talking about
border?
then.
Like,
Look up YouTube.
put yourself in
Frame
Biden's shoes.
problems,
Like,
kayfabe
what is your
through
policy
series.
solution to that? I shit you not. Every time I've asked that question, I've asked this question
What's
so
that
many
about?
times. They say like Cinemarxism,
Frame
for example.
channel.
He's this like Twitch leftist. I had a conversation with him and I asked him, like, how do you like vet
Kayfabe is a
people coming into
wrestling
the country?
term,
Because
so
you got
that's
to
what
do
I
that,
thought
right?
you were referring to.
He said his solution was to get rid of all border patrol. He's a prison abolitionist and a police abolitionist. To get rid of all CBP, get rid of all ICE. And what you do instead is you send a bunch of lawyers to go physically stand at the border.
That's how politics
and then I
becomes
guess
pro wrestling.
migrants stand in a single file line and then you just hand them papers and then they come into the country. That was literally what
I am intrigued enough to at the very least look this up. You did a good job by touching my intrigue. How politics became wrestling, part 1. Should I watch this? I feel like I should watch this at some point. I feel like I know exactly what they're about to do too. This might actually cook so much because they're creating heels, they're creating baby faces. You know, now they're cutting promo. Oh, okay. I hate wrestling. And you watch this and liked it. I love wrestling. I think it's so good. I think it's like oh, what was that? What did I used to call it? It's like theater and like real life theater, basically. I won't watch it now.
what he said.
I have to go to sleep after I watch this, but I will watch it.
They're just not
at a
serious
different
about
time.
getting it accomplished because it's obviously way too absurd to actually do it. Like it's the same stuff with like, you know, the
Christian
ACA and
National
stuff. Like
Center.
they have a policy position on healthcare, just that they don't
I think he is in the WWE Hall of
thoughts
Fame.
about like how to actually do what they want or like what the constraints were at the time, like when the ACA was passed, right? But they still have policy positions that you could convince them are stupid.
They don't.
Maybe.
I don't think you can convince them that it's stupid. But like they don't. They.
But you think you can convince them to vote for Democrats like significantly easier?
No, I my whole thing is like I just try to like be aggressive as possible with these people and, you know, make them look silly. That's like kind of what my whole thing is all about. Like that's how
And that will peel them off to vote for Democrats where they otherwise wouldn't.
Not them, but like hopefully people that watch them, you know.
In the audience.
I get emails from people all the time from like saying they used to watch this or that person, and you know, so I'm doing.
Well, I mean, listen,
I got 6 emails that says Hutch was too aggressive. I'm a Hasan fanboy now.
I'm not watching Hasan. What I'm not sure about is the prescription, because I'll give you an example. I had a conversation the other day with Richard Hanania, and Hanania voted for Trump, and he was saying like crazy shit like, oh, don't worry about it, like fucking RFK won't have any position of any authority, and I wouldn't vote for him if they made him HHS secretary. I remember sitting in that election day stream, and he's like, yeah, there's no reason to think RFK will have he'll be sidelined and marginalized and that kind of thing. But that said, I had him on and we spent all the time like assessing Trump shit and talking about like abuses of Trump.
Do not equate these people to Kyle Kulinski, Hasan, and Vanguard. Again, Peace Code, do not provide another false equivalency, please.
Internet like interventions and hashing that out. What is your prescription with respect to the conclusions you're drawing, Hutch? It's not that we don't interact with these people, but is it that we don't have a
Richard Hanania has very clearly became anti-Trump after he won the election. This is a fucking terrible comparison.
like conversations with them?
It depends. Like if your whole thing is constant Democratic Party, fuck the Dem.
Go back and watch any Trump clip and just imagine he's a pro wrestler cutting a promo. You know what? The funny thing is, there's a pro wrestler right now. Her name is Becky Lynch. She's taken all of Trump mannerisms. She's not. I don't believe she's a Trump supporter, but she's taken Trump mannerisms for her promos, and she has some of the best promos ever. Like, even though Donald Trump is a piece of shit, there's no doubt that his mannerisms and the way he talks create like the perfect heel, and creates like funny as fuck quotes. That's just undeniable. Undeniable.
Democrats flowchart bullshit, and that's all you do, then I think the best thing to do in that spot for me, and I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but for me is to match that energy and to just really, I personally think that the
only reason why he's the president of the United States is because he was in the WWE and learned how to cut promos. We solved the case. People, the only reason why Donald Trump is the president of the United States is because the WWE taught him how to cut promos. Blame the WWE. The WWE is the reason why the country's fucked. We solved the problem. It makes all the sense in the world.
flowchart shit is not like, I think it's so thought terminating. I think it's so fucking stupid. And so I don't really make an effort to like hide my contempt when people demonstrate that kind of logic. And if you find that in your experience that you attract more bees with honey and that works for you, great. But I think that kind of rhetoric has just become so commonplace in online lefty populist brain rot spaces for so long. And I think there needs to be more people pushing back again. I'm not saying you have to, but I think there needs to be more pushback against it because I think it has done a lot of harm. I think like the 2016 Democratic primaries, that event alone, and if you watch the Ryan Getty video, he gets into this, but like I've been saying this for years. Like that event alone, I think has done so much damage in terms of the discourse.
He was on the
primary.
Yeah, the idea that Bernie Sanders was like robbed of the nomination in both 2016 and 2020, I think is really damaging. And I don't like people that spread that lie. I think it's destructive. I think it's harmful. I think people...
You need personality to win politics nowadays. With the influence of Donald Trump in particular, I guess you could say Obama too, because he's super charismatic. But that plus the influx of social media people where the layman person has to have personality to become a prolific figure in any space. You need personality to win politics nowadays. There's the dry speech type of politicians that are cookie cutter, that always says the right things, that are very PR trained. You need some authenticity. That is for sure.
Lose faith. They literally think the system is completely rigged against them, and it's because they don't ever stop and ask themselves, why did we lose that election? You know, why don't we do better with black voters? They don't ask that question. They're just like, it's just fucking rigged. Katie Porter, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, you know, like down the line, that's their whole thing. They will never win they will never lose a primary and then come after the fact and say, here's where I think our campaign like didn't, you know, It's just like, oh, it was just robbed. They think that the Democratic Party, they think that the moderate wing, the establishment wing, should hand them power. Like they just want to skip the step of convincing voters. And they think they should, like they think that Pete and Amy, who were ideologically opposed to Bernie Sanders, they don't agree with his ideal governance. They thought Biden would have been a better candidate and a better president. But they think that Pete and Amy should have stayed in the race to artificially juice Bernie's numbers to like help him on Super Tuesday. How do you explain that? Like what world do you live in? Do you think that the moderates are just going to give you power? No, convince voters. That's how you take the power. That's how you got to do it, right?
Is that a descriptive claim or a prescriptive claim? You're saying the way to get to power is X, Y, Z.
The way if they want to control,
or are you coming some kind of normative assessment there?
The way if the Bernie populist wing of the party is ever going to be in the driver's seat of the party, it's going to be after they convince enough voters to give them enough seats to have a majority in the party, and then they can have more influence to elect a House Speaker. They can have more influence to decide who is in the Democratic leadership, but they don't do that. They never fucking do that.
Again, I just think they're talking past each other. Like in that context, their claim is one that they were cheated out.
The thing is, Republicans and MAGA have no one that can cut promos and be as charismatic as Donald Trump. DeSantis is dog shit. JD Vance is a fucking grifter. Marjorie Taylor Greene is fake as fuck. Nikki Haley's not the best. Chris Christie's decent at cutting promos. Doug Burgum's not boring. RFK Jr. sounds like a fucking broken ice cream machine. What is there any other Did I already say DeSantis is dog shit? Well, I'm gonna say it again. DeSantis is dog shit. Cutting promos.
Of whatever. And I don't agree with that claim, especially not in 2020 for reasons. But you just saying, well, the way you win power is XYZ doesn't seem responsive to the claim of we were fucked and cheated out of it. It just seems to be like talking about some sort of descriptive of how one gets power, as opposed to whether or not what was done in a given context is like somehow intolerable or bad.
Well, the claim
Does
is
that
just
make
not.
sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the claim is just not true. The idea that it was rigged. I mean, Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes, and
No, their claim is it's unfair, and you need to come with a claim. It's not unfair because, and not just the way you get power is XYZ. It's one is a normative kind of like back and forth. It's not unfair versus it is
When I was a
fair.
kid-
And the other is, well, this is descriptively how one gets power. I feel like you're just not responding to them. I agree with you.
What the fuck are you talking about, Pisco? You can answer their question with the description of something that they're lacking. What I just Pisco sometimes what are you looking for? What do you want?
On 2020, especially.
fair, unfair. I really don't give a flying fuck about like any of like those kind of descriptors. It's just
Fetterman, I don't know. I don't not the biggest Fetterman guy. Tallarico. I have to charge my earphones. Tallarico is solid. I like Tallarico. I like Pete Buttigieg. Gavin is probably going to be the most famous, most well-spoken. Obviously, he's a handsome man, white, so he might be the most popular candidate. Kamala Harris has name recognition, so she could be a popular candidate. We'll see.
the truth that if the progressive populist wing is to ever be in a position where they're the leadership of the party, it will be because they convinced voters and not because Pete and Amy didn't deliberately stay in the race to essentially hand it to Bernie.
I think
Okay.
what Pisco's saying is like if you are talking to these people that are claiming fraud and rigging and unfair, and you just say that's not true, that's not going to do anything. Maybe if you like, demonstrably show the facts of it, you'll bleed the people off who are watching and say, well, it looks
Not
like
my
that's
experience.
wrong. But
Well, this is how I would respond. I'd be like, it's not unfair in virtue of one of the expectations in a primary contest is that candidates are able to strategically and tactically withdraw. And that's part of the rules of the game. And if you're working within the rules of the game, there's nothing unfair about it in that sense.
I think they're friends. I can't really speak it, but they said they were friends, and they say they love each other. Love is a strong word in my opinion. Name recognition is a weak stat. It is. I don't think it's a good litmus test on whether someone's a good candidate, but it's very clearly something that influences votes.
And there's never been a norm against like dropping out for purposes of making arrangements. That's part of everyone's expectation. Therefore, it's not unfair. But you just saying, well, how you win power is.
I'm gonna be honest, that answer is dog shit too, Pisco. And that's not even no hate. There's no way you're gonna go. That's gonna be the answer you're gonna tell them. Oh, the election is rigged, and then Pisco says this.
Well, this is how I would respond. I'd be like, it's not unfair in virtue of one of the expectations in a primary contest is that candidates are able to strategically and tactically withdraw. And that's part of the rules of the game. And if you're working within the rules of the game, there's nothing unfair about it in that sense. And there's never been a norm against like dropping out for purposes of making arrangements. That's part of everyone's expectation. Therefore, it's not unfair. But you just saying, well,
yeah, they're gonna say, "What the fuck? What do you mean it's not unfair?" They're not gonna agree with your claim that's unfair. They're not gonna agree with the claim that this is with or either in the rules or out of the rules. You're not giving a better answer. I just don't understand what Pisco is trying to do sometimes. I just don't get the intent.
how you win power is XYZ. It doesn't surprise me that it doesn't stick with them because I don't feel
Your answer is not going to fucking convince anybody either. They're going to disagree with your whole notion. Or they're going to say the confine of the rules that are being created are determined based off the establishment Democrats that sway into their power. Nothing you say is going to convince anybody either. What are you talking about, Pisco?
it's like it's addressing their claim of unfairness. It just feels like
No, it's not.
one is a normative claim and one is a descriptive one.
I mean, I just like the label fair or unfair. It's like if Bernie Sanders had built a coalition big enough to take on.
Some far lefties say that the Democratic primary in general are rigged for establishment Democrats, which is why the far left socialist types like Bernie Sanders never win, and that because it favors establishment Dems. That's what some far lefties say. That's what they're referring to. Obviously, that's bullshit.
The moderate wing, after they were inevitably coalesced around the strongest moderate candidate, then he would have been in the driver's seat, but he didn't do that. Is that fair or unfair? Like it's
That's their claim. Their claim is unfair.
Yeah, but it's your job as a candidate. So that's the job. If you want the job, you got to convince either plurality or a majority of voters to give you that position. Nobody's going to hand it to you. That's my point. Like the whole framing just drives me insane. Why? Like, do you guys ever hear people? They're like, well, we tried the moderate thing for like the last like fucking 50 years. Why doesn't the Democratic Party try the progressive thing? How many times have you guys heard this idiotic claim? That's not how this fucking works. In what universe are the wing of the party that's in power? They're going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to hand you this. No, you do it by convincing voters.
Okay, but you're once again you're talking past them. Right. Like the claim isn't how one receives the power. It's like,
what the fuck? Yo, Pisco was starting to piss me off. Why is he so nice to this fucking fringe on the left?
It would be wise to do X strategy. It would be wise for us to choose this. And what you're saying is, well, haha, you can't win. This isn't really addressing their claim about the wisdom of a given approach.
What wisdom do you need to garner for them if their claim is that it is rigged? Their approach is you can use the statement of ineffectiveness to very clearly distinguish that your side is better. So how are you talking past them? They believe theirs is morally superior, more effective, and helps more people. The people don't agree. So I don't know. It's rigged. That's what super delegates do. What are your defense for super delegates? I'd have to look at the super delegates more to have a stronger opinion on what you're referring to. I don't think there's any evidence that it is rigged. Now there are cases where the DNC or the RNC will pick the best candidate, like for this recent situation, or because of all the thing with Joe Biden dropping out, didn't have enough time to do a primary. So they agreed upon that Kamala Harris was going to be the delegate, or they're going to be the primary candidate. But for the most part, all the people from DNC agreed to it. So it was, obviously there was some disagreement on here and there, but generally it was confirmed from all the Democrats a part of the DNC. But I could definitely look into that more.
And I do think a lot of them also believe they already have convinced voters, and it's just like corporate Democrats and corporate interests and evil things.
I agree.
Too late
right.
for me to look it up right now. But I'll look it up.
But then it's like, okay, to the extent that they're making that claim,
I doubt it's rigged.
That is a descriptive claim, which you have to address and say something like, well, no, because X, Y, Z. Look at these analyses. You can see like the amount of money spent isn't really influencing, whatever you want to say. That's the thing is, if their claim is something like the smart strategy would be. No, I'm not. Sorry, my voice. Yeah, it's a lot of words exchanged today. If the claim is that Democrats should adopt a given strategy, and this would be better for Democrats.
You steered me wrong.
Saying like,
yes,
well,
you've steered, even
moderates
though
aren't just going to hand it over, isn't responsive to the claim.
Before.
It just
thought obviously.
Well, the
not
framing is
them.
Okay, wait. Can we put a pin on this for now, because we are going to do this way more, and Pisco is not going to be the stand-in for the left. We're going to have actual people who have these very disagreeable positions.
I agree with Hutch on this. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you're pretty much on our side in this.
What do you mean all the Social Security
like it's almost like we're wasting all our arguments against people that mostly agree with each other.
Can I just say one thing real briefly? Last thing. I just want the last word on this. Okay. It's the framing that is just like poisoning the discourse. The framing is that there's this monolithic Democratic Party that's like a hive mind that make decisions through some kind of collective consciousness. And that is not what is happening. We live in a representative democracy. So if, for example, the voters in the districts of the Democrats who voted to pass that ICE bill, if they disapprove of those voters, they can primary them and vote them out. So like the way that you make decisions as a party is you forge consensus, and that consensus is going to look different depending on what type of candidates the voters themselves elect. So just stop treating the party like a hive mind and start treating it like what it is. It's a democratic institution.
Well,
that's it. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say the last thing now, and I want you to think about this for next week, because ultimately it sounds like at the end you're saying it's their responsibility to earn the votes, and I feel like that's what they're going to fire back at you when they don't vote for the general. But don't respond to that yet.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
That's a terrible rebuttal, because regardless, if they do win the votes for whatever progressive candidate, the expectation is that the entire Democratic fringe, this entire center left, is to vote for the progressive candidate, i.e. Mamdani. So this idea of you're not getting the votes, so just because your candidate for the primary did not win, you don't vote in the general, is fucking ridiculous. Because ultimately you're on the same technically the same side of Democrats or Republicans. So the fact that only far lefties can pick and choose when they vote, where the expectations from everybody in the center left is to always vote Democrat, that is some bullshit. Come on. That's a terrible response. Define rigged is putting your hand on the scale. Super delegates put their hand on the scale. Oh, you're talking about like they have a level or an advantage? If that's what you're referring to, then we actually might agree when everything's said and done. I think rigged of something that's very much more clearly intentional to corrupt the system in pursuit of X, Y, and Z. You could say power, you could say money, you could say influence, whatever you want. So I'd have to look into it to see if that is a viable claim.
Follow that. I'm sorry.
Well, you're saying, hey, like Bernie didn't win because he didn't get the votes. I agree with this, but it's like, okay, well, isn't it Kamala's duty to earn the vote of the progressives who feel like they're just?
And so it's her fault.
It is. I mean, sure, but like those voters who decided to not vote for Kamala, they made that decision.
No, it's not. That's not a good point, because the calculation is in comparison. If the comparison of the primary candidate is that the moderate Democratic candidate to the masses is better, then you have to make the same calculation in the general. Is the candidate on the Democrats better than the ones in the Republicans? It all can coincide with your initial beliefs. Everything has to coincide with it, but the calculation is very clearly always the same. These are my beliefs. Which candidate follows it more? Okay, maybe it's a socialist. This Democratic socialist candidate follows more. Oh, he lose because socialism is not fucking popular. Okay, Democrat Republican candidate. These are my values. Which one follows it more? Obviously, clearly Democrat. So no, that's not a fucking good point. It's not a good point. It doesn't make sense. It's not a good analysis of what for far lefties. And I'm not here for it. I just no. I might make that a clip. I'm sorry, Soy Pill, but I hated that point.
That they are responsible for their decision. Kamala didn't force them to not vote for her. They chose them.
Do you give Kamala responsibility for not winning?
Kamala failed to build a winning coalition. There's no doubt about that. Kamala failed to build a winning coalition.
We have a whole show for this. Okay, all right. Do we talk about Greenland for like 10 seconds? I'm sure Non-Fon
Yes, we should. I want to hear Non-Fon's opinion on Greenland.
Right.
Okay. That is all we got for that. Hutch versus Pisco. I think Hutch won. I think Pisco was being nasty as fuck. And I think he needs to stop being so nice to these people who hate the Democrats. Personally. That's all I got. It is 3 a.m. Time to go to sleep. I got work tomorrow. Appreciate everybody. Brew. Despite all our disagreements from past streams, it's pretty simple. I think people once they realize that I am able to have conversations with anybody, but I will not hold back on things that I think are very, very bad. And I think once people realize that I hate people on the right and on the left, we can have some good conversation. All right, shout out you, Brute. Shout out you indeed. We will tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow, open panel episode. So I have two of my buddies coming on, and we will be talking about ICE. We'll be talking about immigration. We'll be talking about all that stuff. It should be a very good conversation. That said, appreciate everybody. Y'all have a good one. Take care.